In this lesson, we are going to render and create an isometric template and views of the car. So let's go ahead and take this car into the 3D modeling viewport, and you'll notice that the ribbon is substantially different and it has a rendering option for us. And so go ahead and make sure that the materials and the textures are turned on. And AutoCAD is okay at this. If you really want to create a high resolution image, you're much better off exporting it into a higher end animation type application. But for this exercise, we'll go ahead and for the glass. Now the nice thing about the glass is it's not just a color as we have done so before that differentiates it from the car, but we'll go ahead and drop in, this is a frosted dark blue. Now obviously it'd be great if we'd done the interior of the car, because that way we'd be seeing seats. But it interprets the objects that we've created and it actually gives it a reflective quality. So we'll go ahead and put it on each of the glass items. And it can be a little tricky going through an object, so we'll go ahead and use the orbit command and we'll go to the other side of the vehicle. Now again, if you were really creating a car, you would be making the doors, each component, but for this exercise, it's a pretty quick way to do this. Alright, so we can also do the material of the car and the wheels. Now I've gone ahead in the plastic. Rubber is not that far from plastic, and I've created a fine texture. And you can choose whatever you want. And we'll go ahead and drop it in. And we'll do all 4 tires. And let's go ahead and take an isometric view on the other side. Oops, one more time. There we go. All right. All right, and then one more to go. Okay, and you can always play around with different textures for the metal and reflective qualities. Now the reality is, if you have a reflective material, it needs to reflect from something. And right now we're essentially in a black space, so there's nothing really to reflect on it. You can also add lights. Those types of features will make the vehicle a little bit more realistic here. So at this point, we're just going to make a rendering and just see where we are of this object. And we have the materials texture turned on and press render, and you can get a sense of what's going on here. Now again, you really want to export this into an animation type software where you can put it into an environment. All right, now you want to save that drawing if you want. All right, we're going to go back into the drafting and annotation here, and we're going to be in. All right, so here we're back in the modeling here, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a sheet. So go to the layout. We don't need this view here, so just go ahead and delete it. And then let's go to the table. It's important here that we make this so it has one column, and then we'll make the width 3.5 inches, and we'll say OK, and we'll go ahead and place that on the bottom left, and then we'll go ahead and type in name with a colon, and we'll do name, date, and scale. And by double clicking the boxes, and then just go ahead and type it in, and then click outside of it when you're done and hit the escape key on the top of your keyboard. Alright, so let's go back now to layout, and we're going to go to named, and we're looking for a viewport. So you can also do this. Sometimes these are hard to find just by, in the command line, typing in viewports. VIEWPORTS, enter, and the same thing will come up. All right, now what we want to do is we want 4 equal, and the setup in the bottom, we want to make sure that's on 3D. And you can change the previews, but you know, we have conceptual. You can play around with these. We don't necessarily want wireframe on this. We're not going to be dimensioning this, so this will work fine. And I'll go ahead and select the bottom and come up. And then, now, if you notice, the reason why it hasn't centered all that well is because we had those copies of the sides, and so it is occupying the space here. So let's go ahead and move this viewport down, and then I'll go ahead and the nice thing with this grid here is I can take the hand tool, the pan tool, and I'll go ahead and center this vehicle on the side view, and I'll do that to each of these vehicles real quick. And I'm in the modeling, if you look at the bottom, in the model view, not the paper view. And I'm going to do that for each object. And then we'll scale it as soon as we finish doing that. So let's select the model, so we're in the paper view, and I'll select everything, and let's scale this. Now it all depends on the vehicle we have here. It looks like 3/8 of an inch will work, so every 3/8 of an inch equals 1 foot. And now you notice the grid here, we want to make sure that it lines up. So let's go back to that model view, take the pan tool, and we'll use this grid, and we'll make sure everything lines up. And we'll line everything up. And this is very handy for us. We don't have to eyeball this without the grid. Take this pan tool, move it down. All right, that looks pretty good. So if you were to dimension this, we wouldn't want to dimension off the 3/4 view. So get yourself a view that you like, and then you can play around with the different things. Now, one of the neat things you can do in this orbit is if you right click on the orbit, you can make this a perspective view, and this gives a lot more depth and realism. All right, we would never dimension off this because it's not to scale. And you can position this in a manner that you like. And then let's go back to that paper, and we'll go ahead and put our information in here. So put your name and date. And now the scale, this can be a little tricky, and what I find the easiest thing to do is go back to the object and select the scale, and I go to custom, and then you'll go ahead and edit. Select our view that we're in, which is 3/8 inch equals 1 foot, and then go to edit, and there it is. Right click, copy it. It's much easier than trying to remember this. And then simply double click in on the scale, and then make a space, and then paste it in there. All right, and you put your name and date on there, and then we'll go ahead and type in text, and we'll say what this is. So first thing you want to do is click where you want to start it, and then the height of it, and then the angle, and so this is at a 90-degree angle here, and then we'll type in Mustang or whatever your vehicle is. And you can change around. If it's your scale, your font's too big, you can scale it, or you can just move it, as I'm going to probably need to do here. So I'll just select the object, and it's not too big, so I can go move it, or you could just delete it and start over. And you have essentially finished, and this is what you would turn in as the finished product for the AutoCAD. And you've completed the lesson, we've rendered it, and created an isometric view of your car.